Jim Compton is receiving the Bill Berry Award this year. And you, of all people, because you created the Bill Berry Award, you know exactly what it embodies and values and it embodies. Um, let's talk about Jim Compton as the recipient of that. And do you believe that he embodies those values? And if so, how so? And what significant contributions do you think that he has provided to the culture of Chicago?
How long was he president?
We don't say 30 plus, but it was 34 years.
Okay.
30 plus.
Okay. Um, should we say James Compton or Jim Compton?
You can say James.
Okay.
No, what do you typically call him?
Jim Compton.
You call him Jim.
Yeah, I call him Jim Compton.
Just call him
Okay.
Jim.
Okay.
You know my
All right.
consensus.
All right. That's all right. So the question you want me to answer?
What the question I'd like for you to answer is, does Jim Compton embody the values and spirit of the Bill Berry Award?
All right.
Let's
Good.
let that train go by.
I should have said how, because we know he
Okay.
does.
Right.
Clearly you give it to him. So how does he embody?
Okay, and rolling.
Jim Compton, well, actually, I'd like to say Mr. Compton, because he's such a legend and an icon in and of himself. Absolutely embodies the Bill Berry Award in every way. One that's awarded about a legacy of leadership. And with Mr. Compton, my good friend Jim, um, being at the helm of the Chicago Urban League for more than 30 years, um, says volumes about his leadership and the imprint that he left not only on the community but in Chicago and the movement nationally. So I can't think of anyone better at this time for this moment than Jim Compton for this award, the Bill Berry Legacy Award.
You talked about the imprint. Just can you stop taking for a second? Okay. In your just so sort of the top of your head, what are some of the contributions that come to mind for himself?
The contributions that, when you think about various times and eras of leadership, certain things come to mind. When I think about Bill Berry, what comes to mind is his fighting to integrate Chicago city schools. When I think about Jim Compton, I think about how he built and helped transform Chicago's African American contracting community. He really was a pillar in helping to take small, struggling storefront construction companies and getting them a piece of a pie that they absolutely deserved to compete for and win. And shutting down the Dan Ryan. These are these big moments in his leadership and his legacy that you can point to. With Bill Berry, it was the desegregation and the integration of the Chicago school system. With Jim Compton, it was shutting down the Dan Ryan to give Black contractors a chance to compete and fight for a piece of that pie.
And just his legacy. I mean, the contractors and that, but just if you had to sum up what. And
boy. Jim Compton's legacy, for me, I can speak for me, is that he was always there, the constant presence in the room. And not just in the room, but speaking on behalf and representing the community. But with 30 years of leadership, you knew that the Chicago Urban League would be there. He was in every part of the city and building that bridge between corporate Chicago, business community in Chicago, and our community, African American community. Once someone said to me, when I first became president of Chicago Urban League, you smile too much. You need to go around. Bill Berry was mean, okay? They knew he meant business. Jim Compton was tough. He had that mug on his face. He was tough. He knew he meant business. Well, I was wearing stilettos, so that's how people knew I meant business. But it was important. I think that's the legacy that they left, that sense of presence without even opening their mouths, that people knew that they were in the room, what they stood for, what they came there to fight for, and what they're going to leave with. And so without having to say a whole lot, they spoke volumes. And that's that presence, that ever kind of standing presence. I think it's so much a part of his leadership or his legacy, and as well as Bill Berry's legacy.
Well, as president you of all people know how important giving is and the support of Golden Fellowship Dinner and how important that is. And as you know, we're celebrating 50 years of giving. And the theme this year is honoring your past, empowering your future. Current CEO talks about the fact that you can't know where you come from. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. And she also says that it's that while we've made great strides, historically, we still have so much to do, so much more to do. What does that theme mean for you as it relates to the Chicago Urban League, honoring our past and empowering our future? Just curious.
Well, everybody needs a roadmap, a blueprint, so they know what they're shooting for and where they're headed. Part of mapping out that roadmap and that blueprint, you have to have these markers along the way, and where have you come as a way to sort of indicate where you're headed. So honoring our past is a way to help us, important and integral, critical way to help us build toward our future. When I think about the Golden Fellowship Dinner and Bill Berry, we're giving this award in his name. The first dinner was in some basement someplace. Maybe they raised, I think his wife told me that they raised, $200, $300. And we've come a long ways from the $200, $300 fundraiser for the Golden Fellowship Dinner. And we've come that far, because the leaders that followed Bill Berry, particularly Jim Compton, was able to build on that, turn that small fundraiser into a juggernaut. And it's a juggernaut fundraiser, an important fundraiser. Chicago Urban League raises its money just not because it's raising money, because it's trying to change lives. And that takes resources, and that takes money. There's no way around that. Bill Berry.
Want to take that part again?
Okay. That was great, but I just don't.
Okay.
You know where you want to roll?
Bill Berry was a prolific fundraiser, but he started at the beginning with, the Golden Fellowship raising $300 or some small amount like that, his very first Golden Fellowship Dinner. Here we are 50 years later, and knock on wood, I'm sure Andy will be awfully successful tonight, but raising nearly $2 million a night instead of 200. And that's about knowing where we've come from, understanding what we have to build on, what was built by Bill Berry. Jim Compton knew that and built on that, was able to kick the fundraising to over the $1 million mark. And then afterwards, myself and Andy Zopp, it's our job and our responsibility to take what they've built and add to that. And raising this money, the Chicago Urban League Golden Fellowship Dinner, is so important, not for the sake because we're raising money, because we need resources to help change people's lives. There's no way around it. It takes money and it takes resources to make a difference in people's lives. And times are so tough now. We need to muscle all of our resources that we can possibly get our hands on to make a difference in a whole lot of people's lives. So it seems so appropriate tonight that this theme is about honoring our past, knowing where we come from. And when you look at the very first Golden Fellowship Dinner and that $200 chicken dinner night to tonight, and what will, I'm sure, be a $2 million fundraiser, that's a lot of ground that we've covered. But when you open up the paper and you read the headlines, turn on the news, you know that we've got to double our efforts. We have to double down on our efforts. We've got so much more ground to cover. So I guess tonight's theme is, let's, celebrate the present, honor our past, and the contributions of great leaders like Jim Compton.
Two more questions I've had to build on these leader successes. Let's talk about what you did as, coming in as the first woman. These two men who were very serious and very, well known. And what did you feel, or now looking back, what was it that you sort of built on? I mean, you're on, broad shoulders. Now you can actually say, I stood on broad shoulders and I did this. Talk about that, your vision and how you accomplished what it was that you set out to do.
When I stepped into the Chicago Urban League, it was an awesome responsibility. It was kind of intimidating, the legacy of the Chicago Urban League, the legacy of Bill Berry, the legacy of Jim Compton. And every turn I made, people reminded me, are you up for this? Because you're following some pretty huge giants. And, it was a little overwhelming initially. But while you understand and comprehend and appreciate the past and you honor that, you look to the present day problems, and that pretty much points you to your North Star, what you have to do. And so I look to my current day when I was president, the current day challenges, and as my North Star of how I should be building on the wonderful and tremendous legacy that Bill Berry and Jim Compton and others gifted me with. I did my part. I think it's each generation's.
Rolling.
It's important to understand the past and honor the contributions of great leaders and leadership and institutions, but you have your role as the next generation is to build on the past and make a difference in the way that you see fit, in the way that you believe is needed. So I think it's a responsibility, not only the privilege, but the other way. Honoring our past is so important, but the responsibility of each generation, not just the privilege, but the responsibility of each generation is to bring change, build on that past, and bring your contributions to the table to advance an agenda that will help make an impact in the community and the lives of people in our community. So I can't remember what the original question was.
We're talking about building on the. Come on, y'all.
My vision.
Basically, we were talking about you're getting to your contribution.
Right, my accomplishments. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's all right. All right. It's the responsibility of each generation to not only understand the past and what they're inheriting and the successes and the legacy, and to honor it and celebrate it, but it's the responsibility of each generation is to bring change. It is not about managing the status quo. Why? Because people's lives aren't static. They don't remain the same. And so there is this honoring the past, and there's also this awesome responsibility to build on what you've inherited and make the changes to meet the needs of people, and those needs change every single day. So if I were to talk about my contributions and the time I was at the Urban League, I think it was to bring some change. After 36 years or more than 30 years of leadership, to have the boldness and the courage to do that, and I tried to do that, and I encourage Andy, the new president, Andy Zopp, to do that. People's lives aren't static, and it changes every single day. So while we're appreciating and honoring and celebrating our past, we have to look to the future because that's where people's lives are, and they depend on the ability for leadership to constantly change, adapt, and to honor and remember.
Okay. This is the last question. I call it the 50-50 Project. Basically interviewing 50 people. Some clients, mostly clients, some people who used to work there at the Urban League.
Yeah.
Community leaders, to ask the question, and you guys have supported, you of course have supported Urban League as president and CEO, but I want to know, how has the Chicago Urban League, influenced you? I don't like the word impacted, but impacted you, just personally. A lot of people we're talking to, we're talking about how, the Urban League helped save my home. The Urban League gave me a scholarship. Brought in Zimmerman yesterday. Talked about he got money to stay in school from a board member when he was 17 at the
Wow.
Chicago League. So while yours might be different, I am curious to know. And then when you do this, I need you to say, "Hi, my name is Cheryle Jackson, and I'm former CEO and president of Chicago Urban League, and the Chicago Urban League, blah, 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 blah."
Okay.
Say your name first.
Okay.
And then, So think about it.
Okay. That's what
Because it's going to go, and let me just tell you what I think about it. It's going to go on in a montage.
Okay.
And that montage is going to be put on a flash drive as a gift to the guest
Oh.
at the gala.
Okay. I am ready. Might have to do a couple of takes, but I'm ready. Hi, I'm Cheryle Jackson, former president and CEO of the Chicago Urban League. And the Chicago Urban League has touched my life in two important ways. One, it taught me data entry skills when I was 15. I remember in Memphis, doing a summer program, learned how to work the data entry board. So it's funny how you come full circle. The other way the Chicago Urban League has made an imprint in my life, it has really demonstrated and taught me the importance and the value of institutions in communities. By yourself, to speak out on an issue or to fight alone is almost impossible, very difficult. And so we need institutions like the Chicago Urban League that represents all of us. We stand together speaking out on issues that make a difference in people's lives. So as president, I fully appreciated why we need to protect, strengthen, and build on institutions like this. It's hard to be out there on your own, one voice. It's a little easier when you've got a wonderful, nearly 100-year institution that says, this is important, I matter, and this matters, and why.
That was
okay?
good.
Okay. Hi, guys. I wish I was there with you celebrating the 50th annual Golden Fellowship Dinner with you. But Dubai calls. So, but tell you what, have a drink on me. And while you're drinking those glasses of champagne, keep writing those zeros behind those zeros on your check. The Chicago Urban League needs your money, needs your friends' money, your family's money, everybody's money, so we can keep doing what we've been doing together. Have a good time.